What's up, everybody? I'm Stella Chung, and you're watching The Weekly Fix, the show where we round up all the gaming and entertainment news you may have missed this week. This time out, we've got tons of new trailers and announcements revealed at the Game Awards, plus a potential game save wipe popping up in Halo Infinite you won't want to miss. On the entertainment side, we have an unfortunate update about Netflix's Cowboy Bebop, and Tom Holland makes some bold claims regarding No Way Home. This week's big, so let's get to it.
A number of Halo Infinite players have reportedly come across a glitch which wipes players' saved files for both multiplayer and single-player gameplay completely. Reported on Reset Era and Halo Waypoint, the bug appears to cause players to load into a third-person view of Master Chief, clipping through the floor before it breaks saved files. Attempting to head back to the menu and relaunch progress, users have noted their save file fails to load and displays a progress completed as 0%. The issue has been reported by Reset Era user 99 Humanity and is affecting both Xbox and PC users, apparently caused by a login-related bug where the Xbox sign-in pop-up prompts players to click Let's Go and log back into the platform. Other users experiencing issues noted the same prompt stemming from a double login attempt taking place through the Halo menus. There are a number of reasons this could be occurring, but 99 Humanity pointed out it might be as a result of plugging in a second controller, a controller disconnecting and reconnecting, or the use of Quick Resume feature on Xbox in cases where players have been previously playing the game and multiple users were signed into the same account. YouTube creator Dustin K uploaded a video breaking down this experience, forcing the login pop-up to generate after repeatedly disconnecting and reconnecting a controller, ultimately suffering similar issues with the game breaking and campaign save files being wiped. According to a thread on VG247, the double login bug is also affecting multiplayer gameplay, though in this case the issue is resulting in players spawning through the floor mid-game. 343 did warn last week against using the quick resume when playing Halo Infinite's campaign, as it was causing issues with multiplayer cosmetics earned in the game's campaign. As of right now, 343 has no specific time frame on when the issues will be fixed, so Spartans, be careful out there. Progression is not going to be nice to you. Just be careful, please. Continuing with Halo Infinite, it seems 343 added some tasteful lore and content to the most overlooked character in the game, the Grunts. In a wide range of dialogue from users across their campaigns, players have been eavesdropping on conversation Grunts have with themselves and others. It makes you think to just stop and listen to some of their incredible poetry.
Here is a poem for the Master Chief. Your blood is red, your teammates blue, your parents don't remember you. The end.
During combat, Grunts even make mistakes, and that's okay too.
Oh no! I didn't mean to turn these on! Ah!
Grunts have an abundance of personality and really make the game true to themselves, like this little blue grunt literally dabbing over the dead body of this fortunate player. Also, we finally learned that all Grunts attend school called a Nipple Academy thanks to a casual conversation overheard by our friends at Polygon. As you continue your adventures in Halo Infinite, be sure to record and send us some of your favorite Grunt dialogue. We will be really looking forward to it.
Today, the ABK Workers Alliance, a collective of Activision, Blizzard, and King employees, have announced the initiation of a strike against its employers. This follows the recent termination of members of the Raven QA team and confirmation that CEO Bobby Kotick did know about the existence of hostile workplace and took action to cover it up. In an effort at change and unionization, ABK is now asking for your help, and we do mean you, gamers, audience, fans, and visionaries. Included in a tweet from the Alliance's account is a GoFundMe page which urges supporters to consider financial donations to help participating Activision, Blizzard, and King staff through their work stoppage. In other words, ABK Workers Alliance is asking for support to help the people who are taking a stand against hostile workplace culture for future game devs, for fans, and for the industry. The group plans to continue its work stoppage until its demands are met. Other Activision Blizzard workers are also striking in solidarity, with further walkouts planned by Treyarch's Central QA team and other Activision Blizzard employees in Texas, Minnesota, and California. Activision Blizzard is of course still working through an ongoing sexual harassment and gender discrimination lawsuit and multiple strikes against it since July of this year. In some better news, Bungie and Nerf are teaming up to release one of Destiny's most recognized weapons in the form of its own real-life Nerf recreation. The weapon is designed to mimic Nerf's iconic orange staple, but is otherwise an exact scale replica of its video game counterpart and will measure more than 4 feet in size. Similar to its build in Destiny, the weapon will fire its own version of the launcher's Wolfpack rounds that launch 3 darts at once from inside the shell. The Nerf gun will also feature a loading mechanism and illuminated scope inspired by the game. The toy version of the Destiny rocket launcher is now listed on the Bungie store and is available for pre-order late 2022, costing about $160. As part of the newly released 30th anniversary pack, early access to pre-orders will be granted to players who acquire the in-game version by completing Destiny's new dungeon before August 1st, 2022. Even though we don't have any official date for early access pre-orders, the studio did say players who are eligible will be notified by email. In conjunction with the celebration, the studio also revealed a number of new Halo-themed weapons that includes a Destiny-themed take on the battle rifle, energy sword, and more. Oof, so sleek.
Ubisoft just announced a Splinter Cell remake has been greenlit for development at Ubisoft Toronto. The game will be completely rebuilt using Ubisoft's own Snowdrop game engine, which is the same engine used to develop Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. In a tweet today via Ubisoft's account, the news broke out alongside more info on Ubisoft's website, where producer Matt West discussed his vision of the remake, which is still in its earliest stage of development. Keeping true to the spirit of the earlier games, West hopes to take the remake further, updating the series visually and integrating design elements to match player comfort and expectations. The game will reportedly maintain a linear progression like the originals, with the team declining to translate the game to an open-world setting as found so often with current AAA titles. Even without an open-world setting, technical producer Peter Hendrino still envisions allowing players to do some exploring, leveraging the new engine and new console lifecycle. Fans can be confident that stealth action redefined will be a valuable component that modern audiences will recognize from the original game as a huge focus of core gameplay. The team is hyper-focused on preserving the sense of mastery in situations that demand strategic planning, gadgets, and creativity when faced with challenges. In honoring the direction of Splinter Cell's legacy, Hendrinos ensured he wanted a team made up of people perfect for the job, opening applications up to anyone who wants to join Ubisoft Toronto to work on the new Splinter Cell remake. With a direction to make the game modern, but built on the foundation of the brand's rich history, the team hopes to rebuild a solid base for the future of Splinter Cell. Moving on, the developers behind Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl have announced that its upcoming sequel will actually be linked to NFTs when it launches in 2022. Man, everyone is trying to get into NFTs or the metaverse. It's bonkers. Like, seriously, what is going on? Details surrounding the NFTs have not been released, but the studio did discuss one specific NFT which will allow the owner to become the first ever meta-human, which in English means an NPC in the game. Why do you gotta make it so hard, guys? Just say that. Per a report on The Verge, GSC Game World announced the Stalker Metaverse, which will use blockchain technology to let the community own a piece of Stalker 2. In order to bring this idea to life, the studio partnered with NFT marketplace D-Market with an auction for the NFT taking place in January 2022. The winning bidder will be offered a digital proof of ownership over an item, but doesn't have to claim the MetaHuman prize token. The winning bidder can theoretically sell the token to another user after the auction should they choose to, but there will be a specific claim date for the actual token. Regardless of who claims the token, the redeemer will then need to come to the GSC studio to have their image scanned in detail to recreate the owner's identity within the game for one of the studio's NPCs. This isn't the first time we've heard of blockchain meeting gaming, as Peter Molyneux has also mentioned his next game, Legacy, a play-to-earn blockchain-powered business sim, will include NFTs. In addition, it will feature land NFTs, which can be bought in order to become a business associate in the game, with Legacy also featuring its very own cryptocurrency known as Legacy Coin. It's getting interesting as more and more games are experimenting with crypto market, while some have pushed back with concerns around blockchain's effect on the market, as in the case of Steam banning blockchain games or games that issue NFTs or cryptocurrencies. However this pans out is anybody's guess, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And finally, Dr. Disrespect, also known as Guy Beam, has launched a new AAA studio called Midnight Society, working alongside former Call of Duty and Halo developers. The studio is set to take a community approach to game development with plans to involve players and influencers at all stages of development. The studio has begun development on their first title, which is set to be announced very soon. Although we have no idea what this first title will look like, co-founder of Midnight Society industry veteran Robert 402 Bowling has stated that the approach to game development would be completely open, involving players throughout the design process, defying how games have been done, and rewarding the influencers who make them successful. I appreciate that a lot, guys. It's hard out here for us creators, like seriously. This also isn't Beam's first foray into game development. He previously worked at Call of Duty studio Sledgehammer Games before making a name for himself as a streamer.
There was no shortage of big reveals during the Game Awards last night, most of which came by way of big, loud, overproduced CGI trailers that occasionally showed some gameplay. But a handful of very cool announcements were quietly buried in the margins of Microsoft's trailer for Game Pass. The trailer begins with a trailer within a trailer featuring Dave, aka Lil Dicky, and Gata rapping about Game Pass's PC component, and then cutting to a boardroom where the duo suggests giving the service the very obvious new name of PC Game Pass. Pretty smart, right? And then rather subtly revealing a whole bunch of PC games that are coming to the service on day one via the screen of a marketing guy's laptop, which Gata then snaps a photo of and tweets out. But to save you the trouble of looking for the tweet or that video, here are the games. Total War Warhammer 3, Redfall, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, Atomic Heart, Slime Rancher 2, A Plague Tale Requiem, Starfield, Paparazzi, Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator, Replaced, Somerville, Ayuden Chronicle Rising, and Scorn. These don't seem to be listed in any particular order. Some of these have solid release dates and some don't, and Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator actually hit Xbox Game Pass earlier this week, so you can play that on console if you want. Also on the list are some unannounced Day 1 PC games to announce at the Game Awards, which I guess they announced by doing this whole thing. There's Pigeon Simulator, Trek to Yomi, Sniper Elite 5, which is getting a trailer reveal sometime today during the ID at Xbox Showcase that will have already happened by the time that this episode of the Daily Fix goes live. And then there's an unannounced game from Huge Calf Studios, which is the studio behind When Ski Lifts Go Wrong, and they've been teasing the future of golf games on all their social channels, so I think that's going to be like a wackadoo, goofy golf type of situation. Anyway, some of these might seem like no-brainers since they're coming from Microsoft's first-party studios, but official confirmation is good news for PC players, and more Game Pass games is additional good news. Unless, for some reason, you think it's bad news, in which case you are entitled to your opinion, and you can have fun with that opinion while the rest of us are having fun with video games. Speaking of video games, we figured we would run down a few of the bigger reveals from the Game Awards last night, and when I say bigger reveals, I mean our first looks at previously unannounced stuff that somehow didn't get leaked, or was only a little bit leaked and just kind of rumored on message boards. Remedy announced Alan Wake 2 is coming in 2023, and creative director / Max Payne character model Sam Lake revealed that it would be the studio's first foray into true survival horror. Speaking of character models, people think that Alan is looking a little bit like Jake Gyllenhaal, but we've got confirmation that the original Finnish actor will be back for the role. Star Wars Eclipse is an upcoming game set during the High Republic era, courtesy of Quantic Dream. The studio behind such hits is the one where you press X to Jason, or the one where you can be a ghost who ruins a birthday party by knocking stuff over and scaring a bunch of teenagers, and Willem Dafoe is there for some reason. Anyway, the Eclipse trailer is gorgeous, but that game is in early development, so take it all with a grain of salt because that is very much selling sizzle, not steak. We're also getting a Wonder Woman game from Monolith, the studio that gave us Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and Middle-earth. We've got Mordor where that came from. The trailer confirms that Wonder Woman will in fact be in this Wonder Woman game, and it doesn't really confirm much else. Fingers crossed this brings back the Nemesis system, but for regular human criminals instead of orcs. So instead of names like, Ratbag Licehead and Kaka the Wrestler, we get like Todd Gonzalez and Daryl Archideld or something like that. Okay, maybe that's a bad idea, but the Nemesis system is cool. We need more of it. Former DICE and EA head Patrick Soderlund's studio Embark revealed the upcoming free-to-play PvE game Arc Raiders, which has nothing to do with Indiana Jones, but does kind of look like a hyper-polished version of Earth Defense Force with big mechs instead of bugs, which is cool. And then Silent Hill creator Keiichiro Toyama is making a new horror game about people's heads splitting open and turning into big monster mouths, which is appropriately titled Slitterhead. That looks bonkers and also terrifying, but not as bonkers and terrifying as Among Us in VR, which is somehow also a real thing, and I have anxiety just thinking about it. Like I said, that is just a sampling of what got shown off during the awards last night. We have a video breaking down all of the reveals, and then all of the trailers are up, plus some breakdowns, and then buried somewhere on IGN.com you can find a list of who actually won awards at the awards show. Imagine that.
It's time to take a quick break, but when we come back, we've got Tom Holland's controversial thoughts on Spider-Man's place in the MCU and some exciting news on the upcoming season of The Witcher. Be right back. Welcome back. Tom Holland is claiming that Spider-Man No Way Home is more important than Avengers Endgame. We'll get more into his reasoning in a bit, but before that, Cowboy Bebop's live-action series is officially no more after only one season. But it may not be for the reason you think. So, let's dig in.
I got some real folk blues news for you, Space Cowboys. Netflix canceled Bebop. Yeah, the live-action adaptation no one asked for will be seeing its beginning and end in one season, making it pretty much the only thing it has in common with the anime. Now, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Spike and friends won't be picking up any more bounties despite the cliffhanger in the final episode where they also revealed a new crew member familiar to fans of the original anime series. Now, I already know a lot of y'all watching this only clicked on this video to drop a single comment that reads, "Because it sucked," but the real reason why Netflix canceled the live-action adaptation actually runs deeper than the show simply not gelling with die-hard fans of the anime. Now, Cowboy Bebop premiered with very mixed to negative reviews, and while it almost achieved 74 million views in its debut, the show saw its viewership decline as the weeks went on. Now, mind you, it's only been 3 weeks between the premiere and the recording of this video you're watching right now. Now, according to Netflix's Vice President of Original Programming, Cindy Holland, the reason why shows like Cowboy Bebop are canceled has more to do with the company's overall return on investment, which, honestly, that's really no surprise with these big companies. Now, back in 2018, during the Television Critics Association's summer press tour, Holland said their decision-making is, quote, based on a viewership versus cost of renewal review process, which determines whether the cost of producing another season of a show is proportionate to the number of viewers that the show receives. Now, a second season of Cowboy Bebop on Netflix honestly wouldn't have been lucrative for the company, as the first season didn't exactly set the world on fire. Well, actually, it did, but for all the wrong reasons. I mean, that fire nearly destroyed and uprooted the entire Cowboy Bebop fan base with its disregard of certain portions of the source material. Now, personally, I thought the cast was great, with, strong acting from John Cho and Mustafa Shakur as Spike and Jet respectively. But the one-liners from Faye were obnoxious, very obnoxious, and I could have used more emotional scenes of her character to truly flesh her out as a person in live action form. But you know what? This isn't a review, it's a news hit, so let me just shut up. All right, but you see what I'm saying though, guys? Outside of Netflix's bottom line of viewership versus cost, the live action series was divisive among fans, with only a very small few that were in the minority clamoring for a second season. I think we all could have foreseen that there wasn't going to be a season 2 of the series based on the overall sentiment and reception online. Now, I personally wanted to love it. I really did, but sadly, I just didn't. Whew. Anyways, share your thoughts down below on this. Would love to know if you think, is it even possible to properly adapt most anime into live action? And Netflix, they're planning on adapting this one. This is a Yu Yu Hakusho shirt. I wish they wouldn't touch it. I mean, seriously, are there no other ideas that Hollywood has? I mean, look at freaking Stranger Things. That was an original concept idea that came out of someone's head. It was birthed out of someone's brain, and it's a very successful show for Netflix. Maybe we should stop trying to adapt things that already exist in other forms and are already good just the way they are. Speaking of adaptations, the Game Awards gave us our first trailer for the upcoming Halo TV series. Now, coming to Paramount Plus, we'll soon see Master Chief and the entire world made famous by the video game franchise brought to life on the small screen. Now, looking at the trailer, fans presumably can't help but be hyped already for the Halo TV series, which will be streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus sometime in 2022. Now, with No Way Home just days away, the last superhero flick of the year is shaping up to be a pretty big deal. But is it bigger than Avengers Endgame? Well, Tom Holland seems to think so, at least in scope. Now, speaking with Cinepop, Holland shared his opinions on how No Way Home stacks up against Endgame by saying, quote, "I think the movie's bigger than Endgame because of the cinematic history which it holds. Endgame is a masterpiece. I love Endgame, and to be a part of it was incredible. This culmination of 10 years of work that was all leading to this moment. But this Spider-Man movie is 20 years of work. It's 3 different universes. No one could have ever dreamt that Sony and Marvel would be able to bring them all together." Now, the events that led up to Endgame were part of a carefully planned strategy by Marvel Studios, giving out bits and pieces throughout the lengthy list of MCU movies. But with No Way Home, both Marvel and Sony are delving into past Spider-Man films that have no relation to one another and using the multiverse trope to justify it. Now, we're all witnessing one of those rare moments in cinematic history where production studios are working together to bring back fan favorites from separate reboots of the same franchise. Now, it's a rarity to say the least.
Hello, Peter.
Now, as far as No Way Home being bigger than Endgame, well, honestly, I'd have to agree with Tom on this one as it pertains to the scope of the film. You know, the MCU purposely rolls things out in phases, each leading up to something significantly impactful to the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, this solo outing with Spider-Man featuring Doctor Strange will usher in a slew of iconic Marvel characters, some of which we haven't seen on the big screen in decades. Now, is it truly bigger than Endgame, though? Well, we'll let the numbers speak for themselves, as well as the fans, when Spider-Man No Way Home swings on into theaters December 17th. Now, in other Disney-related news, James Cameron is giving us a watery new look at the world of Pandora in Avatar 2. Yeah, it's coming sometime, guys. Yeah. Now, Cameron sat down with EW to talk about the long-awaited sequel and his plans to approaching subsequent sequels to the franchise. Now, they've apparently been in the planning phase since 2012 with Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5 all on the way at some point. Now, in the EW feature, Cameron revealed that Avatar 2 and 3 will be a love letter to the sea. Yep, kinda like Titanic was, only with less Leonardo DiCaprio, I guess. Oh, no. It's nice to finally get a glimpse of the set, proof that more Avatar will eventually arrive at some point. Now, if you're a fan of The Witcher, then I have some relevant news to your interests. The Wild Hunt is coming. Yes, the Phantasmal Force was mentioned in the pilot episode, and reportedly there will be subtle nods to it throughout the second season. Now, it seems to be the looming threat that executive producer Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich compared to a particular purple gauntlet-wielding Marvel baddie. Now, speaking to us here at IGN, she had this to say about the impending battle that lies ahead for our hero.
Completely. And what I love, I mean, and this is how it's set up in the books too, right? Is that the Wild Hunt, you know, is this, what did we say this season? A portent of doom. And so they're always just mentioned when war is coming or a battle is on the horizon. And so they have this, you know, air of sort of evil mystery around them. And yet what we're going to start doing is beginning to understand where they came from and what they want. So like all characters in Sapkowski novels, we're gonna get a little bit deeper into them so they're not just the sort of evil skeletal bad guys.
Hissrich and her team know just how big of a deal the Wild Hunt is and have purposely been foreshadowing the arrival to communicate to the audience, both fans and the unfamiliar alike, that a bigger danger is on the way. But why was it seeded so early on? Here's what Hissrich had to say.
There are things that obviously we knew we wanted to tell over the first couple of seasons, and we wanted to make sure that we had mentioned, you know, the Wild Hunt in season 1, for instance. It's in the pilot, so that we can say, like, we hear you fans, we know that this is a big deal. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, I mean, it's what the fans know, but we're not ready to get to it yet.
That's a great way to keep fans invested in the story and excited for things to come. Now, in other Witcher news, Henry Cavill wants to visit Tucson, the setting of The Witcher 3's acclaimed Blood and Wine DLC. Now, speaking to us here at IGN, Cavill mentions how this land actually exists in the books and he'd love to explore it in a future episode. But the question is, would Tucson make for a good location on the show? Now, Cavill had this to say.
It would be, yes. Tucson exists within the books, and Geralt spends some time there because he gets trapped there sort of when the passers get snowed in. And so I think there is a beautiful opportunity to explore Tucson.
I'm gonna say it's kind of odd that, he mentions exploring Tucson because, you can do that very thing in the video game, in video game form. So the question is, has Henry Cavill fully explored the Witcher video games?
And I actually haven't played the DLC I know, the audacity of me. But I'm saving that because I've heard that they're both brilliant. And I'm going to perhaps sit down at Christmas with my nephews and see if we can have some fun there. Yes, Mr. Cavill, please download that DLC. It's pretty dope. Now, the holidays are probably, a great time to sit down and enjoy The Witcher in all its forms. Actually, the books, the games, the shows, whichever version you have time for, really. The Witcher Season 2 will be available to stream on Netflix December 17th.
I'm Stella Chung, and that was your Weekly Fix. We'll be back here next Saturday with more of the biggest gaming and entertainment news of the week. See you then.